All right, I'm recording.
Me too.
Yep.
Me too.
You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-hosts,
Beth?
Brian?
And Kirsten.
So we've got a lot to cover this week. So let's just dive into the news, and we'll see where we get to from there. So first up, we've got that Disney has talked about some of the new plans for the nighttime extravaganzas at the parks. Looks like we knew that Epcot was going to be getting a new show to replace Illuminations, and in the interim, there was going to be a temporary show in its place. It looks like we got some information on that. Looks like I have to scroll all the way to the bottom of the article for this. The big thing with this show is that they're going to be including special effect enabled kites that will be capable of airborne choreography that will be controlled by cast members on skis. So that's interesting. We also got information about some of the overlays for the Tree of Life Awakening, which we knew was going to feature the Lion King. Looks like it's going to be kind of highlights of the show. Hollywood Studios is also getting a nighttime show that will run as like a projection show on the Chinese theater. It will span through a bunch of the Disney animated movies and will feature supposedly a clip from every Disney animated release. And I think that's it. Is that everything? There was a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah.
So
I guess
They need to stop adding nighttime shows to Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
There's already like 3, isn't there?
Well, so the funny thing about this article, it says, I have to scroll down and find this now. It basically says that the time frames that they're running to, like, looking to run them, they could run all 3 of them in one night if they really wanted to.
Jeez.
Oh my God.
That's bizarre. I don't know. I'm not really impressed by any of this because, like I said before we started, I feel like so much of it is just like currently they're not meeting the standards that they should have set for themselves. And so this is just like trying to bring themselves up to par. So like, I don't think they really deserve a lot of accolades for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, so let's go over this wonderful world of animation. So I guess that's our version of World of Color 9 years later. So that's cool. The Lion King one at Animal Kingdom. So we are the only thing at Animal Kingdom right now is terrible. So, I mean,
in terms of nighttime shows, let's throw that out there.
Yeah. That's what I mean, Rivers of Light, like, good job. And then I don't even like Illuminations. So you couldn't figure out the drones. This seems to me like it's going in a Jungle Book way, where like they can't figure out what they really wanted to do, so they're doing something else, and maybe it's not going to end up so great. I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong. If so,
that's what I was so worried about. As soon as I hear like they're having a stand-in show for something, I was like, oh boy, here we go again.
Yes,
it's like,
immediately Jungle Book Alive with Magic.
I know everybody wants a nighttime show at all the parks, but honestly, if it were something like that again, I would say, just wait, just get what you want to do right, and I'll go 3 months or however long it takes without a show.
Kites from jet skis, like that's creative.
That's for sure.
I hope that technology works out really well, and we're kind of like wrong about this, but
my mind goes to be wrong.
Yeah, and my mind automatically goes to that same place. The problem here is that sometimes things feel dated, and yes, Disney needs to refresh them. Illuminations to me doesn't feel as dated as they keep putting it out there as.
No, and it fits so perfectly.
I mean, like, yeah, we do need a new nighttime show here because it's been here for a while, but at the same time, like, it's not going to hurt you to run Illuminations for 1 more year.
The budget that they're spending on this, I would love if they would take this budget and spend it on like totally revamping Fantasmic, because from the people I know that have worked there, it's just like terrible. The backstage is awful. It hasn't been updated in a million years. And like Fantasmic is a great show, and it could be brought into, you know, the 2000s and be like even better, you know. And I feel like people love Fantasmic, and if they really updated it and did some cool new stuff and like did better water projections and like, I don't know, added some things, took away some things, like people would really love it. And that would be better than like watching the millionth, I don't know, Star Wars fireworks or Frozen fireworks or a really sad stand-in for World of Color. Like, I don't know.
I think the problem with that is that Illumination still fills up every night, and they won't do that until they see a decrease in attendance.
You mean Fantasmic?
Yeah, sorry, Fantasmic. Yeah. My bad. I'm kind of heated about this too, so that's my feelings on that.
I'm just not going to be positive tonight. I'm going to try really hard, but I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah, this might be a tough show for me too. Sorry, guys. So I guess we can move on to the next thing. It looks like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway has been pushed back to 2020.
Shocking.
Surprise? Not really.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, how long did it take them to finish the Lime parking garage at Disney Springs? Just saying. Like, they really, I hate saying this, but Universal has their act together when it comes to announcing new stuff, building new stuff, that new stuff being awesome and coming out on time. And Disney is like really falling behind. And I feel like Universal has been creeping up on them for a while, and it's coming.
I mean, if they keep doing stuff like the Wizarding World, they're definitely going to be more of a competitor than they used to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, now they've got the Super Nintendo World coming too. So
that's true.
Yeah. But I will say, I get your point, Kirsten. I also think that, like, at least I know I keep up with Disney news a lot more. So, you know, I'm going and looking and trying to find stuff. So by the time I hear about something at Universal, it's probably public knowledge at that point anyways, and almost everyone else already knows about it.
That is very true.
Yeah.
That is true. And but just all of this, like, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to, the parking garage, you were so correct on. Like, I don't even know what they're naming the third one now that's been in construction for, I don't know how long.
I believe it's grapefruit.
That's a fruit that lasts forever. Apple? Like,
I've heard it's grapefruit. Like, seriously.
No, that's long.
I know, but it makes sense. They've got orange, lime. You got to go with some other citrus, right? Yeah.
Lemon's shorter. Makes sense. And it's a different color. Grapefruits are also like orange.
That's
I don't know. Did we park in the orange one or the grapefruit one? They're basically the same. Is the grapefruit one going to be bigger than the orange one? Like,
maybe they'll make it pinker.
But I will say, like, to what you said about Universal, I feel like it's also true that big time fans are a lot harder on Disney because I feel like you're always harder on somebody you love. And so it's like, we know what they could be. And the person who just like is like, oh, I'm taking my kids to Disney World and la-di-da, you know, buys tickets at the gates. Like, they don't know what they're missing, you know, as far as what Disney has the ability to do or what they used to have the ability to do. Yeah. So I feel like they're usually a lot more satisfied than people like us who are like, you guys, like, come on, you're supposed to be the best, you know?
Yeah. People like us do kind of put them under a magnifying glass.
And I very much am guilty of that with like the last couple of days of how things have gone with Disney. A lot of my thoughts and feelings have been either somewhat from the perspective that I view Disney under this major magnifying glass and, like, you know, really expect this standard from them, but it hasn't quite been there.
That being said, it is not hard for them to find people to hire that want to work for Disney. So they could be doing stuff faster, I think.
And they have the money to, if they like really wanted this Mickey, like the Runaway Railway to be finished, like they could spend the money and do it. Like, we all know, you know, what happened last year, park attendance went down, but, you know, revenue went up. Like, what is that telling you? You know? And so that also just irritates me on a level. It's because people like are paying you to come and have this magical experience, and you're not using the proceeds from those magical experiences to create more magical experiences, which is what you should be doing, and paying your employees a living wage. Sorry.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack with that one. Like, I don't know. One of the biggest things that I've noticed recently, especially with, like, you know, price increases and, you know, projects like this taking a little bit longer than they expect them to, is Disney doesn't seem to care because the park attendance or the park revenue is where they want it to be. They want the money to come in, and that's what they're getting. Like, I was looking at like a later in the year trip for one of the things we're about to talk about, just to see if I could swing it. And even booking like 3 days at All Star Music was almost $200 a night. And I just want that to sit in for you guys. $200 for an all-star resort.
Yeah, it's hard to swallow.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing to me is it's like, I know tonight's going to come out very negative for my end, and I apologize for a lot of that in advance. But like, some of this stuff just makes it, I don't know, weird for me. Like, it's not a breaking point. It's definitely not a breaking point. But I've considered over the last since we came home from this last trip, yes, I've had that post-Disney blues and everything, but like at the same time, there were points during this trip and like afterwards where I kind of was like, what is my Disney breaking point?
Yeah, well, like we haven't been in a year and a half, and like at this point, we don't have plans to go, which is just due to schedules and like spending money on other things. But it's also like, I feel like it's for me to sit and complain about it, but then to still go, I'm giving them exactly what they want. And like,
yeah,
we can complain about it all day long, but you know, until you put your money where your mouth is, like nothing's going to change. But I don't think it's going to happen to a degree because like we just said, you know, everyday people who go to Disney World, like, yeah, they think it's really expensive, but they're only going to go once. They're still going to spend the money. And so they're still going to get enough revenue. I don't think there are enough diehard fans like us to say like, no, this is unacceptable for things to change anytime in the near future.
Yeah. And just to put this all into perspective, I mean, money is a major thing that we're talking about, which has nothing to do with these news articles here. But I was talking to a coworker before we went. They went on vacation. We spent almost as much money, like after, you know, the dining and everything that they did on their all-inclusive trip to Costa Rica. Like, that's crazy. You know, I willingly will admit that I would probably choose this over a lot of other destinations just because I love Disney and this is a place that I do love to travel and this is a place that, you know, I'm fairly happy with for the most part. But like putting that money into perspective, even if like the hardcore fans do vote with their money or do something, I don't think that's going to change. Like you said, Kirsten, people are still going to want to go to Disney because it's Disney.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, yeah, whenever I was looking into going to Tokyo Disney, doing like 10 days, you know, with, I don't know, roughly half of that being at Tokyo Disney, which is a lot cheaper than Disney World. And then half being the other part, you know, Japan in general. It was still the same as like, I don't know, a normal 5-day trip to Disney World that I take, you know, and we usually stay at like a moderate or deluxe, or we rent DVC. But like, that's crazy. Like you could spend 2 weeks in Japan.
Yeah.
Or 5 days in Disney World. Like, what? Anyway.
Yeah, it's crazy. But let's move on to a more positive note because I'm really excited about this next one and I keep looking at it to, you know, kind of calm my anger. Yeah. So Disney is adding another after hours event, which is kind of cool. This one is villains related, which kind of surprised me a little bit. The event's going to run select nights June 6th through August 8th and will feature exclusive entertainment, food and beverage, merchandise, and more. Basically, we're going to get kind of a not so scary, very Merry Christmas type deal. Getting a stage show, which will feature Hades and Meg from Hercules set on the castle. The Maleficent float will run through the night, which is kind of cool because wasn't that originally like the plan to begin with?
I think so.
I think, yeah, that was so long ago, but I think it was. There's going to be overlays or additions to Pirates and Space Mountain that will be villain themed. Ooh. Yeah, that's really cool. Food and beverage items will be offered as well as event merchandise. Now, the only thing to note here is that due to the expected extreme popularity, villains will not be meeting and greeting during this event, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah, that's kind of a cop-out. Like,
yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
We know you want this so bad that we're not going to do it. Sorry.
Yeah, that seems like I don't really care that much about if they're there or not, but that seems like a really stupid excuse to give.
That'd be like if you couldn't meet Mickey. Like, we know what y'all are here for, but it's going to be so popular, it's just not going to happen.
I wonder if this is I wonder if this is going to be more like the after hours events they already have, where it's only like an additional 2-ish hours after the park closes, which that might be why, because then your entire night would be spent waiting in line for like one of the villains you would never get to meet normally.
Based on these prices, I sure hope not.
Yeah. So
I was reading, actually, I think it was Disney Tourist blog, and there used to be an after hours villain event like similar to this, or sounding similar to this, and they did have meet and greets, and they basically said that imagine Jack and Sally and the Seven Dwarfs at like the parties, those lines, but for all of them. Like that's what the event was. So that's why I'm thinking that they're not having meet and greets.
Yeah, that was kind of my assumption too. But the cost of the ticket is going to be $139 plus tax in advance, or $144 on event night. If you're a pass holder or DVC, you can purchase the tickets for $109.
See, I feel like for $139 plus tax, I better get to ride Maleficent the Dragon.
Are you trying to catch on fire?
I mean, it would probably be worth it on it. Do it for the gram, Brian.
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
I do think this is really cool. I think that, and I think we've mentioned this before, you know, all of the Instagram small shops that have sprung up and really gained so much traction, and now Disney's kind of capitalizing on that. I think those small shops really brought to Disney's attention how popular villains are. And I think they're really taking advantage of that and doing so much more with it. Like, I don't know if any of you, okay, well, I don't know if Beth, if you follow makeup, but like ColourPop, which is a, I don't
cosmetic
know, more
company,
moderately priced makeup company, is doing this villain collection now. And like the game Villainous, which I can give a really quick like review of in a little bit.
So
if you
good.
Want. And I think that they're realizing that people love the bad guys.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. There's a demand for it, and they're going to capitalize on it. I don't blame them for that, but these prices are a little high for my taste.
I mean, this is Christmas or Halloween party prices.
Yeah, and like the food and beverage, if they did this and like the food and beverage was free, or to a degree, like I feel like they could really do sort of a you know, when you go to like a Christmas party or something and it's you have 2 drink tickets or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like they could do something like that, and it probably wouldn't be that hard to add to a Magic Band. And so, okay, with your $139 plus tax, like you get to come in for 2 hours, and then you have the option of getting like 1 or like 2 quick service items that are like special for the night. You know, I mean, because I don't want to pay that much money and then pay for the food and beverage, you know, and then pay for the merchandise. Like, that's more than a park ticket for a day.
Yeah.
And then you still pay for everything on top of it.
Yeah, realistically, this sounds like a way less good version of Club Villain. Because Club Villain was like, I think it was like $175 a person, which is that's a good chunk of change. But it was an open bar and open hors d'oeuvres. Like, they had hors d'oeuvres themed to 4 different villains. And everyone got like a specific, like each table got a specific time to meet and greet with each villain. So it was like minimal waits.
That does seem like a way more optimum situation as a guest.
Yeah, and it was awesome, but they only did it that like one time, and I think they saw that people really liked that, and they're like, how can we take away value from this?
Yeah, well, I feel like open bar and open hors d'oeuvres is hard to do at places like this, because just like at fancy all-you-can-eat restaurants, like people go nuts, you know, and would be shoving things in their purse and like, I don't know, crazy things. So that's why I feel like a limit, or some sort of, you have this many tickets or whatever, would be like a good in between.
Yeah, that would be probably the best way, because again, it's Disney. People are going to try to capitalize on that bang for their buck pricing, and it's just it doesn't seem feasible that Disney can do something like that, but I'm sure there's a way that they can.
Yeah, I mean, if they can put how many quick service things you have on your Magic Band, I don't see why they couldn't put, okay, you have a ticket for the villain after hours event with 3 quick service thingies to use.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, it would probably take somebody a couple days to set that up.
Yeah, probably. So do we want to move on to the big thing here?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to say just before we start this, let me run through this whole thing and then we can all discuss because I know we have a lot of thoughts and feelings on here.
And let's preface that when it comes to the strollers, there is a parent in this podcast who's not like childless people, child haters. I have a child. So, yeah, boom.
So, we're a little late on this because we missed last week due to some scheduling conflicts and me not having adjusted to my post-vacation schedule. So it looks like Disney dropped a lot of new rules and a lot of controversial rules, I should say. It looks like they're implementing a stroller ban beginning May 1st.
All strollers are banned.
Yes,
that's what it sounded like.
No, size restriction wise, sorry. No strollers bigger than 31 inches wide and 52 inches wide in Walt Disney World. 52 inches long. I read that way wrong. In Walt Disney World, guests can already rent single or double strollers upon arrival, but these bigger strollers can't be or won't be allowed. We're also not permitted to bring in wagon strollers anymore. And smoking is now banned from the Disney theme parks. If you want to smoke, you have to leave the resort or the park, go back to the designated smoking areas in the resorts, and that is your only place to do so. Another one that's kind of a weird one is that loose and dry ice are also not allowed.
Who is bringing dry ice in?
Right? Like, where do you even get dry ice?
Probably Amazon.
There's a lot of places to get it, but this is a weird one. I want to say, like, the only thing that I have to say on that dry ice and loose ice thing is people were probably dumping at places they shouldn't be.
Yeah, I've seen people do that.
I also read that it can be, like, if you have an ice chest with a bunch of stuff in it and, like, a ton of ice, it's hard to see what's in the bottom. Like, theoretically, you could hide a gun in the bottom of an ice chest and they wouldn't find it. And security probably doesn't want to be sticking their hands in ice chests every 5 seconds.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
True.
So go ahead, share your thoughts, unload this one. I don't have much to say other than it's about time.
Tear him up, Kirsten.
Well, I was just going to say, to clarify, there are going to be smoking areas outside the gates, right?
Yes, the resorts are going to have smoking areas still, but inside the resort gates, you are not allowed to smoke, and that's, I believe, effective immediately. No, that's May 1st as well.
Okay.
It seems like a weird thing to like have to roll off of. Like, of all these, I feel like they could do that one immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just confused as to, like, where are they going to put it outside of the entrances to the parks that isn't affecting people walking in?
That's the thing. Now they're all going to be crowded somewhere right out there.
Well, so here's the thing. I don't know where they're going to start putting them because obviously they haven't put anything out yet. There's no like visible smoking area or designated smoking area outside of the park gates, but like the resorts have them, and I'm assuming that that's probably like what they're directing people to go to. I saw a lot of outrage over this, and people were saying that they're not going to go back to Disney just because they can't smoke in the park.
To which I say, yay.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
I will say one thing that annoyed me there was I saw a lot of people saying, well, my dad smokes and he's not going to go with us if he can't smoke. So he's not going to get to vacation with his grandkids, blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm sorry, I have to say, if you or someone in your family cares so much about smoking that they will not go on a vacation to somewhere with their family because they can't smoke in part of the area there, that's a personal problem. That's their issue. That's not Disney's fault. And like, you should work that out with them, and they should really think about what their priorities are.
Like, how do you defend
absolutely.
that?
Yeah. Hey, maybe these people can use it as motivation to quit.
There you go.
That was a lot of the response that I saw was like, if you can't go that long without smoking, like maybe this is a good time to quit. And it's not just Disney that's doing stuff like this. Like this is kind of a big thing everywhere. Yeah.
I mean, it's 2019. And I also saw a bunch of people saying, oh, but you can still drink in the park, blah, 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 because Disney makes money off of that, blah, blah, blah. Like
drinking doesn't affect people standing around you unless you're like blistered.
Like secondhand alcohol is not a thing. And then people are like, I actually responded to that in one of the comments because I like to troll people on Facebook in my free time. And then somebody was like, yeah, but what about drunk driving? This is not what we're talking about.
That's a huge stretch.
Clearly drunk driving is bad, but you're not going to be drunk driving in the parks, like around people. That's the
drunk driving on Tomorrowland Speedway.
I mean, you can probably get high off the fumes from that ride.
Let me tell you, like, Kirsten, I know we both have not been to Disney in a while. I mean, outside of this last trip that I took, but it was beautiful to not go near the Speedway running.
Oh, isn't it great?
It's the best thing. Oh my goodness.
I can't wait. When does it open up again? Have they announced?
I don't think so, and that's the best part.
Okay, good. I'm going in May.
I think they said it was April 29th.
No!
I'm just messing with you. No,
oh my god, I was about to say no. I'm literally going in May.
No, I think they said not till the fall.
To do like little electric cars and make it like so, like actually Tomorrowland, like.
Or wait, just hear me out here. Just shut it down.
Yeah, well, that too. But if they really want to keep it, because it is a people eater, you know. I mean, there are a lot of people in that line. But like electric cars and like, yay, future, like. We don't want to pollute the earth forever. Like, they have the opportunity. Like, who's in charge of this ride? I feel like I know who it is, and I feel like his name starts with T and ends with rump.
Oh boy. So strollers, feelings, thoughts, anything?
I might be more excited about this than the smoking ban.
Yeah.
Yeah, this definitely affects, I think, more people than the smoking ban.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no stroller designated areas in the park already. They're out and open with everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, there's stroller parking.
Yeah, but they don't. That don't mean much.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, stroller parking has gone so far as like the entire carousel in Fantasyland and all of the Tangled bathroom area that it's insane.
I hate it because I feel like it's in some of my favorite parks. Like, it's in Adventureland. It's right next to the Tiki Room. You know, it's like, I don't want it there. Put it somewhere else.
I mean, like, listen, it's a kids' park. We get that. And again, you know.
Excuse me?
I'm just waiting for
family park.
Hold on.
Childless.
It's for the young and young at heart.
I'm just saying that because there's going to be a horrible iTunes review that's like, these podcasters.
Let them riot. We've been there before.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
When y'all are done discussing your anger at strollers, then I'll go as the resident parent.
Yeah,
that's the
save our rating.
That's about as much hate that I'm going to give the strollers, because listen, I get it. Like, I totally get it, and I understand that there's not really much they can do to combat stroller parking, because like a lot of people use them even if their kids are far too big. But that's all I got to say.
I mean, listen, I feel you, kids. If I could get away with riding around in a stroller after a long day at the parks, I would totally do it. But I digress. Whatever.
Wait, hold on. Before we let Kirsten go, because I'm not seeing this in this article, but I vaguely remember seeing something about this. Aren't they also banning like the novelty strollers too? Like the giant Cinderella's castle or carriage ones? I believe they are, because those don't fall in the limits.
Man, well, that company
is there a height?
I don't see a height restriction. I have never seen one of those. I guess
they're bad.
These and the stroller wagons, like the Keens or whatever they're called. This must be pretty recent that it really became popular, because I don't remember seeing any of those ever.
I've seen the wagons before. I've seen people, and like I think I mentioned this last time we recorded, that Disney's been kind of quiet about it, but they haven't let people bring those wagons in either. I saw people well over a year ago getting turned around at Magic Kingdom gates and telling them they had to go put that back in their car. So that was the sight.
This other article from travelandleisure.com does say that even themed wagons will be soon banned from the parks.
Man, those companies that have been making bank on those are going to be pretty sad.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Disney to like release their own. Like, oh no, but you can have one of those if you buy ours in the park.
And oh God!
Make it smaller and not take up as much room, and I'll be fine with that. Anyway, Kirsten, what are your feelings? Sorry, Brian.
Oh, I was just gonna say the 31 inches wide like stroller restriction is awesome. I don't care how long these things are. Like they could have a stretch limo come through there with a stroller if it was 31 inches wide. I can't stand trying to walk through some of the narrower walkways and people come in these huge double wide strollers trying to get through it. That is what's so annoying about it. Like I don't care how much space they take up when they're parked.
I hope that next they ban walking 5 people wide.
All right, resident mom of the podcast, go ahead.
Yes, parent here, in case anybody doesn't realize, again. Okay, so I'm glad. I'm so glad. And I see a lot of kind of pushback, and I'm going to talk about a couple of the pushback things that I've seen. But I think that it's really gone crazy. I mean, it's crazy. And so, one, a stroller wagon, like you're not walking your child to the park in your neighborhood. Why are you going to pull them in a wagon? Like that doesn't even seem fun, because you know what my kid would be doing? He would be throwing all of his crap out and I wouldn't be able to see him because I'm in front of him pulling him. And somebody could just snatch him out and take him, which, you know, depending on what day in the park it is, I might be fine with that. But I probably want him back eventually. So that's how I feel about that. And like, you don't need a wagon. You do not need a wagon. If your kid is old enough that they don't want to be in a stroller, but they want to, like, they can be in a wagon, that means they're old enough to be walking.
Yep.
And so that one of the pushback things I've seen is, what about special needs kids? Well, I actually have a special need. And I realize, I'm going to interrupt myself. Last time I was on, which feels like forever ago, we were talking about height restrictions. And I mentioned how it would negatively impact my son. And I don't think I've ever actually said on the podcast, Eli is my son. He's 2, and he actually has a very rare form of dwarfism. So I wasn't saying that as like, oh, they need rides that all kids can ride. It's just like, as he grows, he might actually be impacted, you know, by height restrictions in a more negative way than other kids. So anyway, the special needs kid thing in the strollers, like he might have to ride in a stroller when he's older, just because he has like loose joints, weak muscles, blah, blah, blah. It takes him twice as long to get anywhere because he has short little legs. And I'm not worried about that at all. Like Disney is great with special needs. So I feel like, and this is not true for all parents, but I feel like special needs parents, there's a huge scale, a range of like very mild special needs to like very severe. And I feel like the more severe your kid's special needs get, like the more kind of relaxed you are about it. Like I'm not worried at all, because if I need, like if we have to have a bigger stroller than the restrictions, I'm just going to walk myself over to guest services and explain like, hey, here's what's up. And I'm sure they'll give you like an exception, a placard, a sign, like whatever. And they're going to make it work. It's fine. Like it's just life and you deal with it. And I hate when people say that about like special needs kids when they don't even have special needs kids. Like, just, I don't know.
They're just trying to be contrarian.
Yes. I feel like sometimes they are. Like sometimes, you know, I'm sure they have family members or friends who are affected, but most of the time I feel like they're just using it as an argument when they really don't know what it's actually like.
Yeah.
So
just to point out, they're not putting a ban on wheelchairs, they're scooters. Yeah. So that just goes to show like that you're absolutely correct in your points.
Yeah. And like
that's kind of the other thing.
Size. And I looked up the size of Eli's stroller just to compare, because he has a good size stroller. It's a very common stroller, very popular. And so the restriction is 31 inches wide, and Eli's is 24 inches wide. I mean, that's a good amount of space left. And then 52 inches long. Eli's is 44 inches long. So again, a lot of space. And I do understand people who have twins or have like 2 under 2 or whatever, that is where the double stroller issue becomes tough. So I do sympathize there because that's hard.
But they could do the like back-to-back ones. They don't have to do the side to side.
That's what I've seen. Yeah, and I know that they don't like them because whoever's sitting in the back can't see anything but the kid in front of him, which that sucks. But take turns. It's a great time to teach your child about like sharing and trading off and getting everything you want.
Or get 2 strollers. That's also a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're a single parent.
Yeah, but if you got 2 parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta say, if you're a single parent taking multiple kids to Disney parks, I think you deserve whatever size stroller you can get.
Yeah, if they're both stroller age too, that's a lot.
I think that the point is
people who are
single parents who have twins can't afford to take their kid to Disney World.
There's not a lot of overlap here, I don't think.
Let's see, what else did I have to say about this? So much. I'm really fine with it. Like, and again, and I know that there's some older kids who do need strollers for whatever reason. I know a child who's like nonverbal autistic who would probably be a great candidate to need a stroller when he's a lot bigger than you would think. But again, guest services is going to take care of that. And if your kid is, a typical child and they're still in a stroller at 8 years old, like, again, that's a personal problem and you need to work that out because your kid is old enough to like walk on its own 2 legs. The end. Unless there's some extenuating circumstance. But like so many people are like, well, they're going to be tired by the end of the day and grumpy. Well, guess what? So are all the adults. I'm tired.
I was about to say that's part of a Disney trip.
And I feel like so many times people use their strollers as just like a place to store all of their crap. Which that's not what it's for. Everybody wants a place to store all of their crap, but other people just don't bring as much stuff in. And they wear backpacks.
Yep.
Like, that's what Brian does. Be like Brian.
Oh, yeah. If I ever see a family with the kid walking beside the stroller and then just putting crap in the stroller and pushing it around, that infuriates me to no end.
Yes, it does. Me too. Like, my goal with Eli is I'm sure he will need to be in one again because of issues like at the end of the day, but I want to have him stroller free unless he's like we're on the 4th day or his legs can't handle or whatever by like 5. That's the goal for me. And I think that's like a reasonable goal. Your kid's old enough to know better. If they're tired, you can go home, go back to the room, take a break, whatever. Like, anyway, I feel like that's most of my feelings. Is it? Maybe.
I mean, that's all pretty fair stuff. Like, I don't think that anyone should be able to argue with those points.
Side rant just before we close this out. When you get on the monorail, get your kid out of the stroller and fold that thing up.
Yes,
don't
like
look back at me like, oh, there's no space. Sorry. Like,
so
fold that thing up.
Yeah.
I know we're gonna get into like my trip stuff, but like, side note, we went to go meet Brian and his wife one day at the Poly, and we took the monorail from Epcot to the Ticket and Transportation Center. And there's a whole story with that, but one of the reasons that we missed the first monorail is because they filled up with strollers and none of the cast members wanted to tell them to close them or take their kids out.
No,
and like there was easily standing room in the monorails and stuff, but like we could not feasibly get on it because they were filled up.
Oh, and I will say, I realized getting hit in the ankles with strollers is really annoying. I hate it. I tried my best not to hit anybody. But this also goes back to don't stop in the middle of the walkway.
Oh, that goes for anyone. Stroller, no stroller.
Yeah, it's everybody. Like, the only person I hit with a stroller when we were there was a girl who literally was like trying to cross parallel in front of me. She looks up, she sees me coming with the stroller, she walks in front of me, stops right in front of me. Like, they're heavy. They have some momentum. I couldn't stop in time. I hit her. I was like, well, that's your attacks for standing and like literally right in front of me when you saw me coming. I mean,
I want to bring a stick and just like poke people. Yes, like poke them out of the way as I walk around.
Gives them a little shock.
Yeah.
Yes, I hate that. And people do that everywhere. Like, I don't care if you're at Disney World or in your mall. It's like, and like whenever people get off escalators and then they just stop. Like, what is your problem? You're not the only person on the planet.
Or if you do, say sorry. Like, apologize for running someone.
I'm sorry, I was just an idiot. I will try not to do this.
Well, no, not stopping, but hitting people with your strollers.
I did not apologize to that girl because that was her fault.
No, I mean, if it's their fault, clearly no. But like, it's just if you accidentally hit someone with your stroller, just be polite and be like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that."
Yeah, and it is a learning curve. And I realized because we actually were lucky enough to rent the exact same stroller that we own, so I kind of knew. But it's hard to see those front wheels, and so it takes like a few minutes to kind of adjust and figure out where you're like how much leeway you have there. But you should definitely have it figured out, you know, and your husband or wife should be the tester who walks in front of you for a while till you do figure it out.
Oh, absolutely. 100% agree on that.
Anyway, I'm good.
All right.
Done. Fight me. Send an email. I will rebut.
I guess I'm pretty much wrapped up on that too. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to say on those new rules, but
no, let's hear about the trip.
Oh boy. Okay. So this trip we decided we were going to do 7 days or 7 nights, 8 days. Yeah. And this is the first time we've done Disney in a pretty decent amount of time. I know I've talked about that on the show before, but this was a like weird trip for us, and I have a lot of things to say about this. So we stayed at Port Orleans like we usually do. Initially, it was going to be me, Andy, her parents, and we were trying to set up like a conjoining room with them just so everything would be easier. If we needed to, like, you know, wake up early to get to the parks or something, we could have access to get over to them if we needed to. Unfortunately, due to circumstances out of anyone's control, they had to drop off the trip. Now, just to preface all that, if anybody has any kind of needs like that and you call Disney, they're really good about doing that. I've had things like that happen in the past where I've needed a conjoining room with someone and they've made it possible for, you know, our trips. If you guys have listened for a while, you would know that I used to tour with my family a lot and we were a very large party. They would always have us conjoining. So I didn't think that would be any issues. First thing that we ran into was that we got to Port Orleans fairly early. We arrived around like 10 o'clock. And Andy had this weird gut reaction that she was like, I don't want to do mobile check-in. I want to go up to the counter. I feel like we need to. And I was like, okay. So I humored her. We went up to the counter. We checked in. The lady at the concierge desk was super nice, had us check our bags, which another thing that we decided we were going to do was we were going to pack smaller bags in our carry-on bags, like little drawstring bags, just to take into the park with us. Because if you don't know, we're flying out of New Jersey. It was 20 degrees when we left and like 80 degrees in Florida. It was an insane
Sounds like South Carolina on any given day.
Gosh, it was like the temperature difference was so drastic. And we knew kind of going into it, like just from watching the weather, that the nights were going to be cooler. And we didn't know how late we were going to stay in Magic Kingdom because they had extra magic hours till midnight that night. So we didn't know if we were going to be there all day, if it was going to be like too hot for us to hang out or have to go back to the room. So we're like, we'll just pack like a bag. And if, you know, we need to, we can take our sweatshirts off when we get there. So we went right into Magic Kingdom, hung out for a little bit. We had fast passes for Haunted Mansion, Splash, and Pooh, but skipped Splash and Pooh because it was too hot. We managed to get on a couple other attractions in the time before our fast passes, but man, it was crowded. This was the tail end of like a lot of senior trips, and there was apparently like baseball and softball spring training this week. Like, it was crazy. There was the point I was telling Brian about this before, that we were in Tomorrowland waiting in line for Carousel of Progress. And if you looked out over the ledge of Tomorrowland, every one of the attractions in Tomorrowland had one of those signs that said such and such line ends here. Like, even the People Mover had one. And I didn't know that existed because it's always a walk-on for the People Mover for me.
Oh, I've seen that at the People Mover. I'm curious if there was a line for Carousel of Progress.
There was not. We actually managed to get in on the show. I know Brian said he's had a line there before, but like, we got in. We were like the very tail end. If we were like one or two people behind, we probably would have got cut off. Like, it was full. Yeah, that was insane. We did do, with no waits, Carousel of Progress, Country Bear Jamboree, and saw Great Moments. But as much as I love Great Moments in history, the crowd that formed there stopped the entire like line of traffic. getting through Liberty Square. It was so bad, but it was fun. The only thing that stunk was like people kept cutting in and out, and it was pretty bad. For that, we got run over by a couple strollers. Surprise. So anyway, around the time that our Haunted Mansion Fast Pass was, we ended up realizing that they never texted us that our room was ready, because when you check into a Disney resort, they send you a text message that says, hey, your room's ready. You're in this place. If they don't give it to you right away at the front desk, they'll say you're in this room in this section of the building, and you can go back to your room. Well, check-in is at 3, and usually rooms are ready by check-in. I've had it a couple times where they're not. But around like 3:40-ish, we realized that like we never got the text, and we wanted to go see what was going on with our room. So we get back to the front desk, and we're talking to the lady at the front desk, and she's like, oh, I'm surprised they didn't text you. Usually they're pretty good about that. Turns out that apparently on our reservation, they had made a note that we wanted a conjoining room with her parents. Didn't realize that her parents' reservation was canceled, and they were waiting for her parents to check in.
Oh boy.
So we were like, okay, what's going on with that? Like, can we get a new room? And they called housekeeping. They found out that they had a room that was kind of supposed to be an upgrade off of the one that we had. We had it was pretty standard. It was just the two bed garden view room. And they were like, okay, yeah, we don't have one that's garden view. We'll just move you over to Alligator Bayou. Now, I have stayed at a lot of places.
No.
I have stayed at a lot of places in Port Orleans. This is the place that we go to a lot. I will say if they ever try to put us back in Alligator Bayou, I will request somewhere else.
It's very aptly named.
Oh my gosh, it was pretty. It was really pretty. I will tell you that we had like some water features going through like right by our room. You could walk out onto.
You took it?
Oh yeah, because at this point, so it was close to dinner. It was really hot. Andy was tired. She wanted to get changed out of our like normal wear that we came down in, because usually we check in and we get our room fairly quick. But we were like, okay, we need to go. We need to get back to the room, and they wouldn't let us get our bags either because the front desk didn't have them. Someone with bag check had them, but the only way that they would release them was if the reservation got a room checked in, and they could only deliver it to the room. So it was one of those weird things where we were like, well, to get our stuff, we have to get this room. So we got the room. It was not great. Walking through Alligator Bayou at night is terrifying because there is foliage everywhere, and you hear the little anoles running around, and it sounds like an alligator is about to jump out of those bushes and kill you. So that was a fun thing that we had a couple nights of the trip. I think that's pretty much it for the first day besides dinner. I will say, I don't know if every Disney resort's doing this, but our resort offered us a $10 a night gift card up to 6 nights for refusing housekeeping. Now, I think I've said this before, but Andy always puts the do not disturb sign on our door because she has this weird fear that like housekeeping is going to come in and steal something from us. So she like, we quickly accepted that and got a free $60 out of Disney. So I'll take it.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that.
We actually ended up getting a lot of free money this trip.
Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. Like, I hate them waking me up.
So the other thing that we learned that I didn't know, which this is kind of a weird...
pause. You're still in the room when they come and they wake you up?
I was kind of wondering that too.
You guys should know this by now. I am not an early riser.
But it's Disney World.
But I drink, Kirsten. I can't go all day like that. I mean, I have some dignity. I'm not going to start drinking at 9 in the morning.
You're on vacation.
But then I'd be black out by lunchtime.
That's when you come back and you take a nap. See?
Oh my gosh.
Well, so funny thing kind of to that. I didn't know this, but apparently Disney implemented, I want to say like last year or the year before, whenever the Vegas shooting was, they do room checks now, even if you have the do not disturb sign up.
Which honestly makes me feel better.
Yeah, which it was crazy. And the weird thing about that, I'll jump ahead to that a little bit. We actually came back one day to, I think she wanted to take a nap or something. Like she was tired, and we decided to go back and rest at the room for a little bit. And I was sitting there watching TV, and I heard a knock on the door, and I was like, what the heck is going on? So I let it sit for a couple minutes, and they went and they knocked on another door, and then they came back and knocked on our door, and I looked through the little peephole, and there was someone standing there in like a Disney Port Orleans cast member. Like they looked like the mousekeeping uniforms, like they were kind of nondescript, but you could tell that they were supposed to be there. And he was knocking on the door, and he was like, "Hey, we're just doing room checks. Do you mind if I walk in?" I was like, "Well, she's sleeping, so I would prefer if you didn't." He was like, "Okay, I can come back later." He's like, "When do you guys think you're headed out?" And I was like, probably like an hour. I'll wake her up because we have dinner reservations." And he was really cool. I'm assuming he came back. We didn't see him after that, but nothing was missing.
He would have been as cool if you had said, "Oh, sorry, you can't come in right now. I have to hide my guns first."
Well, the nice thing of it was, like, I opened the door all the way when I realized that he was in like a housekeeping uniform. So like, I guess he kind of did realize that maybe she was sleeping, but like, I don't think he would have been cool if I was like, "No, you can't come in at all," and didn't give him like a valid reason. But yeah, so that first night we had dinner at Skipper Canteen, which I think we talked about before. Brian recommended we be adventurous, and let me tell you, that paid off big time. Food was great. I really enjoyed it. We ordered like specialty drinks and stuff too. She had the Schweitzer slush, and I had a Punchline punch with the spiced rim. I can't remember what it was spiced with, but it was really good. Really, like, both of them were fruity and really good. They didn't have alcohol in the ones that we ordered, but that was purely by choice of not wanting to be drunk on the first day.
Bad choice.
Bad choice.
I'm just kidding. I have a question though. I heard that they served the melon frosty Fanta there. Is that true?
I don't know. I didn't really look for that. I saw the Punchline punch thing, and that was really good. And she got the Schweitzer's slush thing, and she was set on the fact that she could have a slushie with dinner.
Maybe I just heard it. I heard it through the grapevine, so I didn't have any way to validate it because I don't think I saw it on the menu, but
I don't know. It might have been. We kind of, a lot of the thing that we ended up doing for this trip was if we ate somewhere, we got like a specialty drink with it because we realized we could now. I should also note that we did Disney dining plan because we always do, even though it's not the best value. I like not having to budget out all of that money for food. So yeah, you do get a specialty drink with that. For dinner, I had the seafood stew, and she also had the Thai noodles. The waitress warned us that the Thai noodles were going to be spicy, and she was definitely not wrong with that. They gave her a lot of food versus mine, which was like a fairly small portion, but mine was filling enough that I didn't really care about that. The desserts were also really good. She had the congalouche, which was like a chocolate pie with like a banana something or other on it. I can't really remember that now. And I had the mango lime sorbet thing that had like a cake under it, and that was really good. Mine was definitely the winner because she stole a whole 2 spoonfuls of it versus the little bit that I got to eat. And then after that, we decided to stick it out for happily ever after. Unfortunately, we did end up waiting like an hour and a half for our seats and everything, which I know was kind of against my normal like cram everything in. But this whole trip was more of like, ended up being more relaxing for the most part. And I have to say, I know I've been pretty adamant about being mad about Wishes being gone, but I watched it, and not that I'm mad that Wishes is gone, but I can't blame them because I was still blown away by this show.
I quit.
Sorry, Kirsten. I should also tell you that Country Bears was our first attraction because it was the only thing we could get on. So I know you're super disappointed.
Yeah, Kirsten is done with you.
What even is this?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing of that was like we really only ducked in there because it was air conditioned and everything else had a 30-minute plus wait.
You could have just stopped at Country Bears Jamboree as our first attraction.
No, I'm gonna run into your ankles with a stroller.
Oh boy. We ended up not staying through extra magic hours because that was a long day as it was. But yeah, that was a long day. I should also, 2 things that I want to throw in there. Stuff that I don't quite remember when it happened, but I know it definitely happened on this day. On the bus ride to the Magic Kingdom, at one point I heard a mom yelling about the fact that the Tiki Room song was playing overhead and complaining that she hated the Tiki Room and that she wished they would just tear it down. And at the same time, a dad also was telling his family that he learned that the Walt and Walt Disney World meant wait a long time, which was by far the worst dad joke that I heard.
That's
that trip.
So funny.
I was about to say, I kind of like it.
Although, if I didn't know where I was, I would think I might have been that mom because I'm not a fan of the Tiki. And I'm going to tell Will that joke and he's going to say it all the time now when we go to Disney World. I'm
not even kidding. I heard that and I was like, I want to send this to our group chat, but I need to hold this for the podcast. Yeah, and then the other thing that'll kind of lead into the next day is that while we were waiting for Happily Ever After, Andy was joking about how cute and cliche it would be if I proposed during the fireworks. So, moving on, the next day we decided to do Disney Springs. Yeah, a little foreshadowing. But the next day we decided to do Disney Springs. The entire day was planned more around the afternoon than anything, so we didn't have anything like lined up for fast passes or anything in terms of like major plans. So we decided to do somewhat light and hit the Springs fairly early, do some shopping and get that out of the way. While we were there, we ran into a cast member that was at one of the DVC kiosks, and he talked us into doing a DVC tour the next day. Somehow, like, we kind of wanted to do that anyway, because I think I mentioned previously that they give you like gift cards and stuff for doing that. The initial invitation that I got, because my aunt is DVC, was $25 for a 60-minute phone conversation. But the one that they ended up giving us was 3 fast passes for anything that wasn't a newer attraction, basically Seven Doors Mine Train and On, and 2 $50 gift cards each. So in total, we ended up with 6 fast passes and $100 just for an hour of our time. Again, can't beat that.
No, that's not a bad deal at all.
No, it was really good. And I'll talk about the DVC tour when I get to there, but that was actually a pretty interesting experience. Disney Springs, we didn't really do anything exciting, but we decided that we were going to go back to our room, change for dinner, because we had plans to go to Ohana. This was going to be when we were planning with her whole family, or with her mom and her dad. This was going to be our quote unquote date night. And we had made separate plans for them too. So we headed back to the room, got changed, went to the Magic Kingdom for a little bit because it was still kind of early, got on Voyage of the Little Mermaid, which had somehow a 20-minute wait versus everything else that was still like fairly high. And then we headed to the Poly, which, again, I know I've said this enough. I know Brian has said this. I love the Poly. This is my favorite resort. I cannot say anything bad about here, but yeah, this was probably one of the highlights of my trip just because I love this place so much. Dinner at Ohana was great, as expected. We started with drinks at Tambu Lounge. I had the Lapu Lapu because she originally wanted it, but then realized that it was just basically rum poured in a pineapple. And while I'm like, I can kind of hold my drinks, she really can't. She has one drink and she's pretty much done.
Realistically, the Lapu Lapu is not actually a tasty drink. You get it for the Instagram.
I thought it was pretty tasty. I'm not gonna lie.
If you like straight rum, then yeah, it's tasty, but it's a lot of rum.
Oh yeah, that was definitely like the most like vacation thing that I could have done because it was just rum and a pineapple. Like,
I definitely got it for the pineapple.
Oh yeah. She had a raspberry mojito, which was okay. But dinner at Ohana was great. That was kind of what we expected going into this. This was her first time there. And I want to say I had been there, but it hadn't been a while. It'd been a while. But I could live on the pot stickers and the noodles. Everything else was good, but that was like my highlight of the actual entree menu. And bread pudding, which I ended up eating mostly by myself. Because at this point I had kind of like, after her parents had backed out, I had said to her, hey, listen, we are going to be going the same month as your birthday. Why don't we do some stuff to celebrate your birthday? She was kind of all for it, but her big thing is she doesn't really like a lot of attention. So she didn't want to be put on the spot a lot and didn't want to be pointed out everywhere we went that she was wearing a button that said happy birthday. But one really great thing that our waiter did was he came over, he saw that she had the button on, and he said to her, "Hey, listen, I noticed it's your birthday." And he put down like this Rice Krispie treat on the table that had a little candle. And he said, "I wanted to ask if you wanted me to sing happy birthday." And she had said, "No, I don't really want everyone to sing to me." And he was like, "That's okay." And he said, "Happy birthday, cousin," lit the candle and waited for her to blow it out and then walked away, which I think was probably like the nicest thing that he could have done. Just all things considered. But I had planned for Ohana to run a little bit longer than it did. We had actually were only in there like just under an hour. It really wasn't as long as I was expecting it to be. Initially, my plan after Ohana was we were going to go down to the beach. We were going to watch the fireworks from the beach. And spoiler, I was going to propose then. We were going to celebrate with Trader Sam's drinks after. But with the time of it, we were done dinner at 7:55. Fireworks didn't go off until 9:15. I kind of had to figure something out to put in between there. So we walked around the stores for a little bit. I had said to her, "Hey, listen, like, why don't we go try to get a spot at Trader Sam's? Because I know that the wait can kind of get a little bit longer. It's still kind of early, so I don't think it'll take us that long, but let's put our names in just to see what we've got." I walked up, I put my name in. She went to go grab a seat to sit down for a little bit, and then I kind of like ducked off to see how long the wait actually was. The waitress was like, "Oh, you're going to be the next like 2 people in." So I kind of had to stall there a little bit too. Stalled for a little bit. We got in, had a couple drinks. The weird thing about that was there wasn't seating available like at all, even at the bar. Like it was pretty full for a Thursday night, but still we got in, we had a drink. I had the hippopotam Mai Tai and she had the Polynesian Pearl. Both of them were good. I know I'm going to just say this was good. That was good a lot, but that's really the only way I could explain that. Surprisingly, one thing that I've heard a lot in terms of like mixed drinks is this tastes like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but it never does. The Polynesian Pearl definitely does. I will say that. Yeah, so we were in Trader Sam's for maybe about 45 minutes before she started to kind of get antsy because there was really no seating available. And me with my time restrictions was trying to stall it out a little bit, but still kind of getting antsy as well. So we decided we were going to go try to claim our spot for the fireworks and just grab a seat. Unfortunately, it was cold. It was really cold, really windy, and being right off the water didn't really mix well with the fact that we were both I was in shorts and she was in a dress. So she started to kind of get a little antsy with that. And I was like, well, let me just, take a few pictures. I want to get some shots of the castle from here. And just, kind of enjoy the fact that we're here. I unfortunately could not stall that out for a full half hour for the fireworks. So I just set up my camera, put it in video, and I said, "Hey, listen, we're here. Let me get a couple pictures of us before we go." And that's when I did it. She said yes. Yay. So we decided after that, since the fireworks hadn't gone off yet, we were going to try to catch the monorail back to Magic Kingdom. We wanted to kind of figure out a way to announce it to everyone after we told our parents and like the immediately important people. So she had this idea to get ears that said, I asked, and then I said yes, which is super cheesy and touristy, and have a PhotoPass photographer take a picture of it. So we got ears, we did that. Took 45 minutes to get them ready. So we, in the meantime, got on Buzz, which had a 20-minute wait because the fireworks were going off. And I'm not going to let her live this down. I know she's probably listening to this because she knows now and can actually listen to it. So I actually beat her for the first time ever on Buzz, and I'm not going to let her live that down. She says it's because I had control of the cart, but I'm still claiming that as a victory.
It's harder, man, that you're having to do an extra thing then,
Yeah, I mean, she kept complaining because she said that every time she would line up a shot, I would move the cart, but I swear that wasn't my intention. But yeah, then we took our picture, we headed back. That was pretty much that day. I do want to say I did order a gift from Floral and Gifts, and the combination of them and the Port Orleans staff was really great. I had ordered this like basket. It had like a serving tray and then like little champagne flutes and a bottle of like sparkling grape juice because I knew we were going to be drinking beforehand. I didn't want to get like the bottle of wine because that would have been too much. And the staff for Floral and Gifts was nice enough to tell me their entire delivery process beforehand. Apparently, if you don't know, you can order a basket from them and they don't actually deliver it to your room, but they deliver it to front desk staff who brings it to your room. Me not thinking it all the way through, decided to order it for the day that I was planning to propose, realizing that it was going to ruin the surprise if we came back at some point and there was a Floral and Gifts package in our room. Like that, at least. So I called the front desk. I told them, my situation. They were nice enough to hold it at the front desk until we got back. They did leave a message on our voicemail to let us know it was there, which she didn't even notice. So I'll take that as a win. Then the next day was our DVC tour. We scheduled it the previous day. It was really, really, really easy. They scheduled personal shuttle vans to come pick you up at your hotel. And you get on, you go to Saratoga Springs, you watch a 5-minute video, which is basically like a feel-good DVC commercial. You get the pitch from a DVC cast member, and then they take you on a tour of the rooms. If you go into this with the mindset of potentially purchasing DVC, I will say their salespeople are very good. He had laid out a plan and everything for us that would make sense, and actually probably he said that he was doing us a favor. I don't know if he actually was. They were willing to negotiate the price, which was surprising. Yeah, so we had talked to him about it. It was something that we were potentially considering in the future, but DVC is expensive. It's not something we can immediately do. And now that we're planning a wedding, it's not exactly immediate budget. But yeah, so it wasn't like immediately there. We didn't have the money to do it, so we couldn't feasibly swing that, unfortunately. But he did talk to us about a lot of the ins and outs. We did get to tour the models of the rooms that they have at Saratoga, which the ones we went through were the Riviera rooms, a Polynesian room, and then a Alani room. All of them are super nice, I will say that. The Riviera rooms are actually, I really wasn't excited about that resort because, again, we don't do DVC or we don't do deluxe resorts. And if we were buying into DVC, this would be our home resort, but it doesn't look too special. It looked pretty good. The rooms were all right. Let's see what else.
I honestly kind of want to do a tour just to see the rooms.
Oh, that was actually the coolest part. The funny thing was, we joke about this now, but our tour guide was super personal. He was actually training someone with him too. And we got into the rooms for the Riviera, and they dressed them up a little bit to make them look lived in. Like they had fruits and stuff on the countertop and all this other stuff. And the Riviera rooms in the larger one had a plush Sven doll. And we got into the 2-bedroom room. We walked around and we came out, and Andy went, "Does Sven come with that room?" And our tour guide was like, just so dumbfounded by that question.
Oh my gosh.
We got back and we told him, we were like, yeah, this isn't something we're going to do now. We are potentially in the future thinking about it. It's not really we really can't swing it right now, but maybe soon. And Andy was like, if you can swing Sven in there, I might just buy it. And I looked at her with this look like, oh no, he's going to go try to get you a free plush Sven. He didn't. I think he knew that was a joke because he was pretty cool about it. They did give us all the information, including points charts and stuff too. So if we ever want to talk about DVC in the future, I do have the actual points charts and the costs for this year. They are subject to change because they change every year. But I do have current information on that. And he gave us a free drawstring bag. After that, they also had an ice cream bar open for anybody to come and grab stuff from. And we did ours at 8:00 in the morning. So they also had a free breakfast buffet for the people that came in. So they really hooked you up for it. If this is something you're even remotely considering, I 100% suggest going and doing this DVC tour. Let's see what else. Oh, so after that, we got from Saratoga, they give you personal shuttles to go wherever you want. We were going to Epcot that day anyway, and we had lunch planned out for Beaches and Cream. We managed to squeeze in between, this and lunch and then dinner, we managed to squeeze in pretty much every ride in Epcot besides Test Track and Frozen. But Test Track was down the entire day, even though we planned to use our Fast Pass on that. And Frozen wasn't included, so we really didn't feel the need to do that. Beaches and Cream was good. I liked it. We did a mini kitchen sink because the big one is just too big, like not even remotely possible. They do have a smaller version that's recommended for 2 people, and it comes in a souvenir cup that are either Mickey pants or a mini dress. And you get to take that home, so that's cool. She now uses that for her everyday ice cream bowl, and it's a thing now.
Man, I wish I had ice cream every day.
Well,
right? That sounds
awesome. We also walked the boardwalk, which is cool. I don't think I've done that enough. And I want to say that boardwalk is a really nice place to walk around. I've bashed it before, and I'll take back whatever I said about it.
Yeah, you take it back.
And after that, I don't think we really did too much besides ride a couple rides. And then we had dinner at San Angel, which we've talked about that before. It's not great. It's not the best. It's not the worst. It's just kind of there.
It is.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing because like I remember it being a lot better than it was, but it wasn't horrible. So this was
like compared to your like local Mexican restaurant.
It's probably, well, I have a pretty good local Mexican restaurant, so it's kind of below that a little bit. But the problem is that San Angel Inn, the one with the really nice ambiance and like is really cool to sit down and see the ride pass through, is not as good as San Angel Cantina, which is outside. Like their food is miles better for some reason, and I don't understand it. But regardless, it was nice. We got to sit down in the air conditioning, and that was probably the best part of it. I do want to say that at this point, the only thing we hadn't done was Grand Fiesta, which had a 45-minute wait.
Dang.
Yeah, and I forget why, but we decided it was worth it to just wait in the line. Oh, because she wanted to do it. That's why. She was like, I don't think I've ever rode this ride. I was like, no, you definitely have, and you're going to remember it when we get off. So we did.
And you're going to be sad that we wasted this 45 minutes.
Well, we did. It was fun. It was whatever. But we knew that we had to get up early because the next 3 or 4 days we had either a long day ahead of us or we had early fast passes. So I decided to do the smart thing and head over to Norway, got a school bread for the morning, and then went back to the room. So next day we woke up, we got to Animal Kingdom around 10 and quote unquote rope dropped Navi River Journey because there was like no one there. The posted wait time was 50 minutes for that. But we waited 20. And I will say, I know we've said this is just a pretty boat ride, but I really enjoyed it for what it was. And I probably would have enjoyed it more if it weren't for the thing that happened to us while we were on it. Did I tell you about this, Brian? I can't remember if I did.
I don't think so, because I'm just ringing a bell with me.
Okay, so we're riding River Journey, right? And we're in the second row back. In front of us is a family with 3 kids. The mom, the dad, 2 boys are in the middle of them, and then there's 1 boy on the right-hand side of them.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me this, yes.
Yeah. So I guess the way that the parents figured this was the 2 in the middle were the ones they cared about, because the 1 kid on the end kept standing up and putting his hands in the water, like full on reaching in the water, and like the ride wasn't stopping. We just kept going. So Andy and I are sitting there trying to figure out like if this kid is gonna die, if he's gonna fall in, like what happens. I was afraid that we were gonna see like this child get crushed by the boat. Like there was so much going on. Otherwise I really would have enjoyed this attraction. We didn't do it again, but I really would have enjoyed it. I will say that the shaman is the best part of this ride. I know we've said that a lot, and yeah, that animatronic is great. But yeah, the ride wasn't that bad. We got off of that, and Flight of Passage, our fast pass wasn't until 12, so we were either gonna see how long the wait time was, or just go do something else. And at this point, the line for Flight of Passage wrapped from the exit of the entrance of Flight of Passage back through around the front of Pandora, back through that, and then out towards Africa, and then looped around again. So we were like, no, not standing in that. So we ducked out. And they had that like roped off, and there was a cast member standing there holding the rope, and the sign said Pandora exit only. So we're like, okay, we'll just get out here, ducked out of there, and we went to go see Festival of the Lion King before we got lunch at Yak and Yeti, which is like my go-to. I think I've said that before, and ducked out to our fast pass for Flight of Passage. We didn't do we didn't do the food in Pandora just because trying to get in there was a nightmare too. So I'm gonna save that for another time. Flight of Passage, wow. That's literally all I have on here. I honestly don't think I could say anything bad about that, besides the fact that while we were in line for it, there was a something must have happened because they did a delay in the video where like when they do the bioscanner thing.
That's weird.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. Like I went into this blind, right? Like I purposely avoided all spoilers for this. Like even talking about it with you guys, I know we kept it super vague. And like I standing there knowing how Disney has done this in other attractions, they do that, that's weird. Something must have gone wrong. And he gets up and walks away. And I almost expected something like Dinosaur, where like something in the story went wrong. And like we were going to get some weird backstory on like what's going on here. Like maybe something's, not quite right. And then he came back and nothing was wrong. And I was like, okay, that's super bizarre. And I will run.
Somebody was taking too long getting off of the motorcycle.
Right. So then the funny thing is the next day we did it and that didn't happen. So I was like, okay, I guess they had this programmed for just enough time for the ride. And like something either was taking too long to load in or they didn't get out fast enough. Something must have happened. But man, that is a good ride. Like I know you guys have said it enough and I'm not going to tire it out, but that was like an experience. We got off and if the line was under like 2 hours, I probably would have waited for that. That's just how excited I was for that ride.
I'm glad that you got to do it. And like now when we talk about it, you understand it can chime in too and everything.
Well, so here's the funny thing. Like I made fast passes for this twice, and I got 2 fast passes for Slinky. And I told Andy both times, I was like, I only got them because I know they're in high demand. If we don't feel that the second fast pass is necessary, I'll open it up and someone else can take that while we're there. Like that's how it's going to go. And we used both of those fast passes for both of those things. But yeah, that was a ride, man. I can't really say anything else about it, but that was great. I do want to say though that I had this thought while we were walking through Pandora, and I think I need to get this out now before we move into my thoughts on Toy Story. Pandora is incredible, and I know we've said that a lot, but this is definitely like a testament to the genius at Imagineering, because I had zero care about Avatar going into this. Like even seeing the pictures of the land, seeing how like, great the environment was and everything, I thought it was going to be pretty, but not like that I was going to care about Avatar. But Disney made me do that.
Did you smell the smell though?
Oh my God.
I realized literally like last night what the smell is, and it smells just like poblano peppers.
Oh, I never would have put that together, but
I was cooking poblano peppers and I was like, this smells like Pandora.
That's great. Oh my gosh. No, I didn't think about that, but it did smell really good. And the funny thing about this is we didn't get the chance to see Pandora at night. I'm saying all this about the daytime Pandora. Like with the lines, with everything that we ran into, like all of the long waits and like everything that was there, I still wanted to just explore Pandora. And that was like such a cool feeling for me, because there were a couple times on this trip where I like either had a relatively negative attitude or just like it was kind of like I'm accepting of the fact that I know we're probably not going to come back here next year with everything going on in our lives. It's probably not going to happen till 2 years from now, or whenever we finish figuring all this wedding stuff out. Like when we get to that point, that'll be the next trip, but I'm okay with this being the last one for a little bit. And then we hit Pandora and I was like, oh my gosh, this is why I come to Disney. Like, this is what I want out of a Disneyland. And I'm going to hold on to that for a little bit. So also note of our Animal Kingdom, we ran into Kevin 3 times. Kevin is out a lot more than I thought Kevin would be.
Yes.
And Kevin is everywhere. Like the only place we didn't see Kevin was Pandora, which now I kind of want to see Kevin in Pandora because that confused look is going to be everything. And Kevin is also very expressive. Kevin is like, this is my new standard for what I want Disney like character walk around entertainment to be. And I don't know if that's setting the bar really high, but like, man, I have a lot of stuff riding on Kevin. There was one point where we walked past where Russell and Doug come out of like for their meet and greet, and Kevin was walking around over that way, like just by pure chance. And Doug saw Kevin and like started running towards Kevin and gave him like this big hug and was like wagging his tail.
Aww.
And then Russell came. I have a video of it. It's great. I'll send you guys it later. It was like the best thing. And I just like it was incredible.
That's awesome.
It's like such a weird thing for me to be super excited about a walk around character, but like this is where Disney needs to be with that stuff. This was also the day that we had dinner at Be Our Guest, which was okay. I'm not thrilled about it now. I know that I've had some high praise for it before, but since they moved it to the prefix menu, it's gone from being 1 table service credit to 2. And that's a lot to swallow, first of all. I think it's set at a $60 price tag, which is like pretty high. And thinking about it this way, there's really not a lot of like dinner places in the Magic Kingdom for people on the dining plan besides Skipper Canteen. The food was average. I will say dessert was the best part of the dinner. I honestly don't even remember what I ordered from here, which is kind of sad because I wrote everything else down just based off of memory. The gray stuff was good, but it comes in like a little white chocolate chip cup. But the white chocolate was a little too much. Like it was very thick and there wasn't a lot of gray stuff. They give you like this raspberry macaroon, which was really good, and a little chocolate truffle, which was good, but I ate that in like 2 seconds. Yeah, so that was fun. We did the Tangled photo op before we left, did Astro Orbiter because for some reason that didn't have a line, and we did the People Mover. This was the night that we were on the People Mover, and Space Mountain must have closed like before everything else did, because all the lights were on and the dialogue for Space Mountain was shut off. So we got up to the point where you're going into Space Mountain and all you could hear is the People Mover track clicking and all of the lights were on. It was the most bizarre thing ever, and it's kind of like reaffirmed my fear of Space Mountain. Yeah, so another thing that I have to talk about before we move on to the next day is that this entire trip, because when we first got there, we went to Magic Kingdom and they still had some of the Christopher Robin plush left over. We started checking that store pretty regularly, and Andy loves Pooh. That's like one of her biggest things. She got Eeyore, which is her favorite, right away. Tigger and Piglet were the other ones that they had left, but there was no Pooh, which is kind of understandable because being the big character, it's like he's going to sell out quick. But this night, one of the cast members told us, hey, look, I've seen you in here a couple times. We're getting a shipment tomorrow. We might have Pooh on there because we've been getting at least like a handful of them. If you come when we open, there'll probably be one here. So we're like, oh, sweet, we got to get up for it. I set an alarm for 7 o'clock. We rope dropped Magic Kingdom to go to 100 Acre Goods. I want that to sit in for you guys.
Oh, man.
So on top of that, we also had a fast pass for Slinky at 12 o'clock. So we get into Magic Kingdom around like 8-ish. We walked up to like the corner of the castle where they let you up the castle to go towards Fantasyland. And like everyone rushed for Seven Dwarfs, but we're like running off to go get to 100 Acre Goods.
Bet you didn't have much competition.
There was no one there. Like even the line for Pooh is like a walk on. But we got there, and of course they didn't have one, so we got up for nothing.
Oh no!
But it's fine. We did get on. We did get on the ride. We did that. That was pretty cool, and we got breakfast, so I'm not mad about that. What did we have? Oh, I had a cinnamon roll for breakfast, and she had one of those Cheshire cat tail things. Yeah, so then we hopped on a bus to Hollywood Studios to do Toy Story Land. And before I talk about the rides or anything, I have to say, having the reaction that I did to Pandora was such a letdown for seeing Toy Story Land, because like immediately walking into the land, it was like, okay, there's so many people, it's super crowded, everything has such a long line, and I get that because Hollywood Studios doesn't have a lot. And it was kind of like so chaotic to get to anything. Like Woody had an hour and a half wait for a meet and greet, and that was like, it was insane to me. We rode Slinky, which is a fun roller coaster. I will not discredit it from that. I had a blast on this. And Andy is going to make fun of me if I don't point this out. Everyone on our picture is having the time of their lives, but I am not, because I saw Toy Story Land from the hill on Slinky and I wanted to go back. So everyone in the picture has their hands up and is like smiling and like super ecstatic. Meanwhile, there's me who looks like I just want to get off this thing.
I knew there was a picture. I never got it on my account, and I asked around, and there was like, I don't know if there's a picture. I don't think there's a picture. And I was like, well, then why was there a flash?
It preloads to your My Disney experience, so it should have, but we also had a lot of issues with that. Every time we rode Buzz, we got someone else's picture.
That happens to me too. Maybe I should go check my account and see if it ever showed up.
Apparently you can call them and they have a way of tracking it if you give them like the day that you were there and the time that you were there, but like that's too much work. Yeah, so at this point I realized I left my wallet in the room while we were getting lunch, and it was kind of important because this was the night that we were supposed to meet you guys for drinks at Trader Sam's. So I was like, okay, we got to go back to the room and get that. And at this point we had been up since 7 o'clock. It was 12. We had already been to 2 parks. We were both exhausted. So we hop on the bus to Port Orleans, get on the bus, and since we were in Alligator Bayou, it's near the West Depot, which is the first stop off of that bus. However, we both fell asleep on this bus, not realizing that it went to both Port Orleans and dropped us off at French Quarter because we got off at the first stop. So at this point, it's 12 o'clock. We have a dinner reservation at 6:30, I think, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to get back. Luckily, there's a boat between French Quarter and Riverside, so we're like, we'll just get on the boat, thinking it'll be easy enough that the boat will come back and catch us on the way. Unfortunately, a boat didn't come. We waited for like 10 minutes, and then finally a boat for Disney Springs came, and she was like, listen, we'll just go there. We'll go like get a coffee at Starbucks, and then we'll hop the boat back. So we did that. Went to Disney Springs, got our coffee, went back to the room, got my wallet, and then headed to Epcot. So I unintentionally almost lived that 4 parks in one day challenge, and it was a nightmare. Yeah, so we went to Epcot. Andy got swindled into buying perfume from Italy, which almost cost us $200.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that was fun. The salesperson there was super nice, like tried to, spray it all over, and like she loved the smell of it. And then he told her the price and she almost cried because the big bottle was $245. The small bottle was like $150. And then they had a hairspray for $55. She left with a hairspray. The cool thing was, though, that they did engrave the bottle too. So it has her name and a rose on it. There was a manager of the store there who took our picture, and we have no idea what he did with it because when we were both leaving, we realized that we never asked. So I'm still confused about that.
It sounds like a personal collection.
Yeah, it's like
taking pictures of.
It's like a personal. Well, he asked us too. He was like, "Hey, do you mind if I take your picture?" And in my head, I'm thinking this is probably the only person that's bought this today, and that's why he wants it.
Here's all the people that I've swindled into buying $55 hairspray.
Scrapbook. He goes home and looks at every night.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, that was the thing.
Imagining that.
Oh, we had dinner at Akershus, which was okay. Character meal, whatever. I remember this being a buffet. It apparently was not. They had like a entree buffet, and that was pretty much it. Or not an entree buffet, like an appetizer buffet, and it was like mostly salads. So it was fine, I guess. And then we had to go to the Poly to meet Brian, which we were supposed to do at 8:30. That was the designated meeting time. Unfortunately, we got held up for a while. We got on the monorail, or we tried to get on the monorail, and that didn't work because of the stroller thing I mentioned before. But when we got to the TTC, because we decided to ride the monorail, you have to get off the TTC from the Epcot monorail and either board a new one to go to the Poly or just walk the 5-minute walk. I don't usually do that. I'm just going to throw that out there now. That's a thing that I'm not super familiar with. That's not a thing that I really had much experience with before. And if I did, it was when I was way younger. So I remembered it being a lot better than it was. But we got off and I decided better to be safe than sorry. So I Google Maps it. Run it through the Google Maps. We get off the platform for the monorail. And instead of taking the right like you're supposed to take, Google Maps takes me to the left. And I'm looking at my map and I'm like, something doesn't look right about this. So we're walking. It's like you're going to see a gift store on your left, past that, and then the pathway should be right there. You should get to it. So we go down past the gift store, and we turn left, and right to the left is this big building that's got a giant window, and inside it must have been like the security guard depot because the walls were like lined with radios, and behind that there was like this metal chain link fence that had like these generators and things in it. And Andy looks at me and she goes, "I think we just found Disney jail." So I'm like, "Oh great, we're not supposed to be here. What do we do?" And I'm like looking around, and at this point I probably should have realized that if I had looked in the other direction I would have seen the Poly. But we turn around and this lady rides up on a bicycle and comes up and is like, "What are you guys doing?" And we're like, "We're trying to find the Polynesian." And she's like, "It is the complete opposite direction," and directs us over there. We walked back, which was an extra like 5 minutes added on to the already late walk. We didn't get there till like 9 o'clock. And I am so sorry for that.
It's all good. Hey, we got there eventually, right?
Yeah, we did get there eventually. And then like the worst part of that was that like this day was just so much. So we were both just exhausted by the time that we got there. Yeah, but that was fun. We had Trader Sam's again, and I know we've talked about Trader Sam's a lot, so I'm not gonna like dwell on it, but it was a fun experience, and I think it's better if you have people to go with. So yeah, that was that. Next day we had Toy Story Fast Passes again. That was okay. Pretty much everything from this point on was just like a rehash of the same things we did because we park hopped so much on this trip. Toy Story Land was good the second time around, but I'm gonna say this again. Hollywood Studios with no rides is awful. Like there's so much that they can do to crowd control, but they're not. And everything has such a long wait time that if you don't have a fast pass there, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And
definitely agree with that.
Yeah, again, Woody had like an hour and a half fast pass or an hour and a half wait time for a meet and greet in the sun with no shade. Like I cannot justify that. Yeah, and then we had dinner at Homecoming, which was good. It was really, really good. Probably one of my favorite places on Disney property. I would say this and Ohana are definitely like top 2 now. And then after that, we just walked around the springs for a little bit and then called it a night because we were so tired. Second to last day, we did Pandora Round 2. Fast passes for Flight of Passage, just as good. At this point, we decided that we were going to, since we had not a lot of time. I'm running this very long, and I'm so sorry. This is going to be a very long episode. We had not a lot of time left in our trip, so we decided that we wanted to try to find the sweatshirt that Andy was looking for the entire trip. The only place that had it was Wilderness Lodge, and as someone that has not been there a lot or has not been there in a very long time, that was very confusing. If you have not been there, there's a shuttle that runs into the resort, and then you have to take an internal shuttle to wherever you want to go. Very, very long bus rides through that thing. We ended up getting there. Their shop was all right. It had the sweatshirt. And she also bought a shot glass for someone that she works with. And in the time that we were there, we were told that apparently Disney does not sell shot glasses. They're all labeled in their POS systems as toothpick holders.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So we were talking to the lady that was ringing us up, and she was like, "Yeah, do you know why?" And we're like, "No." And she was like, "Well, because they, originally there was an alcohol allowed in the parks, and it was just a thing that's been carried on. So every time they put a new one in, it's not shot glass, it's a toothpick holder." And I was like, "Huh, that's interesting. I don't know if that's like an actual thing or if that's like one of those like legends of bus driver legend kind of things. Like, I don't know if that's true or not, but I thought that was a little fun anecdote to add. Yeah, and then we decided that one of our traditions on all of our trips is that we have to have dinner at Via Napoli, or we have to have a meal at Via Napoli. And I didn't tell you guys about this because, oh boy, this was something. We've talked about Via Napoli a lot, and I love the pizza there. This is the best pizza on property. I will say that hands down every time. But we had the worst dining experience here that I've ever had anywhere.
Oh no.
So first of all, I'm going to throw this out here. I know Kirsten had to jump off because she had something going on. I tried to get a picture of the waiters just to send to you guys, but that didn't happen.
Man.
So
disappointing.
Yeah. So we got there and we didn't have reservations because this was kind of like we didn't think we were going to squeeze it in. We thought we would just go for lunch. We've never really had to wait for lunch kind of thing. We get there, the lady's like, oh, it's a half hour, 45-minute wait. We're like, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's not a big deal. We don't have anything else going on. So what's the worst that'll happen? Well, that was a bad way to think because we got through the line. And if you ever had to wait in line to get into Via Napoli, what they do is they put you in line with the people that have reservations and they come out from the building and call you in. So we put our name in, they called people around us. We waited for an hour to get inside. And at the point that it got to be about 45-ish minutes, 45, 50 minutes, I walked up to the counter and I said, hey, listen, you said it was about like, what's our ETA? Because you said it was about a half hour, 45 minutes. And she goes, oh yeah, it's about a half hour, 45 minutes. And I went, from the time that we got in line or the time that like it is now? And she looks at me and she kind of like shook her head and was like, oh my gosh, you've actually been waiting like longer than I expected. She's like, you should go inside and talk to the people at the front desk. So I'm like, okay. So I go in, I talk to the person at the front desk and they're like, oh yeah, let me see where your name is. And they flip through the piles and our name somehow got stuck with a name that they had called and no one realized that there was a name attached to it because like the way that they were taking them was they would pull them from the pile, they'd initial them and they'd take it inside. Like they take the person inside. Ours was in the pile without initials or anything on it. And it was attached to the back of another one. So she looks at me and she goes, oh, I'm sorry, we forgot you. And I was like, wait, what? Like, okay, tell me like it was a mix up. That's okay. But like, don't tell me you forgot me. That's just like if it was anybody else.
That's Disneyland customer service.
Well, like the worst part of that was I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a place that we make a point to eat at every time we come here. And this is the service that like I'm getting now. Like, not that I expect to be treated like high and mighty or anything, but don't tell me you forgot me. That's not good customer service.
Mario got that let me speak to a manager tone going on.
I was so like, I was a little bit upset about that. And that's like, this is me cooled down. So I don't know if you guys have seen Via Napoli on a busy night because we did. Yeah. And it was something. Their seating is a little odd. There's a lot of seating inside, which is where we usually sit. They have a patio seating outside that's got like tables just out there and then there's bushes behind them, but I bet you didn't know that there's tables on the other side of that bush.
I did not know that.
So we get seated at these tables on the other side of the bush that has probably about enough room for our waiter to stand in between the table and the glass door.
Oh, man.
So she comes over, she takes our order, and we had, if you've ever eaten there, there's like two waiters that come around you. You have like your bus person, which will give you your water and everything and like your refills. And then there's your actual waiter. We saw our bus person like every 5 minutes. We saw our waiter 3 times during the meal. Once to seat us and take our order, once to bring us our food, and then once to give us our check. Which is fine, whatever. They have a bus person to get that extra stuff. I get it. It was busy. But there's some things that happen in the interim. So we ordered a large pizza. We were going to split that. We're sitting there waiting, and about a half hour passes. Our pizza hasn't come out yet, which is fine, whatever. It's a busy night again. Another waiter comes over to our table at one point and brings us a personal pizza. And it's the same kind of pizza and everything. And he looks at us and he goes, is this where this is supposed to go? And we're like, we ordered a large margarita pizza. Is that what that is? And he goes, oh no, this is a personal margarita pizza. And he looks at us and he goes, well, this is the right table number. I guess your waitress just did it wrong and walked away.
Damn.
So I'm like, okay, well, that's a little weird. We waited another half hour for the pizza to come. Got our large pizza. We ate our pizza. Pizza was great. Still great pizza.
Did you eat the whole thing?
Yeah, both of us ate the whole pizza.
The meter pizza or half meter pizza or whatever.
No, not that one. Like the regular size, like it's an actual pizza.
I was about to say, I've been to Via Napoli twice, and both times it's been like 3 or 4 people, and it's been a struggle to finish that. Like,
no. Sorry, it was the regular size pizza.
Okay, I was about to be like really impressed.
Well, so that in comparison to like outside Disney pizza, like that's a large pizza for me. So yeah, we got that. We ate that whole thing, and then we were waiting for our check to come back, and we still waited to see our waitress, who at this point hadn't come back besides like the second time to bring us the actual pizza. And while we're waiting, I guess the table behind us ordered dessert, and the one waiter comes over, the one that brought us the wrong pizza, and he's carrying this what looks like a chocolate lasagna. And he gets to about our table, turns to look at us, realizes that he's not going to the right place, turns again, gets stuck on the handle for the door, trips, throws the lasagna in the air, and it hits my foot, and the plate just shatters. So I looked at Andy, I was like, the whole trip has been so good up to this point. Like, we haven't had a snag. This is it. But the waitress came back over. She I'm not a person to complain about anything. Like, I know that I just complained a lot about this whole thing, but like, I'm not one to go and be like, hey, like, I just had an awful experience. The most that I'll do is send an angry tweet out and tag Walt Disney World, which happened. I did that. Disney was really good about responding. Not that I expected anything, but they didn't like comp us for the meal or whatever, but they took everything that happened and they said they were passing it on to the appropriate person. I hope they did, because that was not a Disney dining experience I want anyone else to have. The waiter was nice enough that he wanted to make sure that we were okay. I was fine. Andy was fine. Nobody was hurt, so it doesn't really matter. We had our dinner. We got to eat, whatever. Then our waitress came back over with a check and just kind of like put it on the table and walked away. So we paid, we left. That was that. And that brings us to the final day that we were there, which we had a flight at 8. So Magical Express picked us up at 4. We decided to walk around Magic Kingdom for a little bit. We saw Festival of Fantasy and we left. Overall, it was a good trip. There were some snags here and there, but really happy that I got to go back and spend that much time there. Whew.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was a very long trip report, and I'm so sorry that this episode went on for as long as it did. I guess it's okay because we missed out on last week, but
yeah.
So yeah, that's all I've really got to say. I have to send this joke back to Kristen. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, so that's all I really have to say. It was a fun trip. Brian now has the most Station 71 meetups out of everyone.
Woo woo.
I was about to say, the only person that we haven't actually verified as a real person is Kirsten, so she needs to get on that.
Yeah, I've had my doubts too, so.
Mm-hmm.
Funny thing is, like, we were having this conversation at Trader Sam's, and like, to be fair, Andy and I were barely real people that time too, because we were just both out of it. But yeah, it was fun, and I know I said I'm like kind of thinking that that's the last trip for a while, but I am already looking into planning another one after we get this all sorted out. But yeah,
I say the same thing. Yeah. Every time I leave, well, I'm probably not gonna go back for a while, and then like 2 months later.
Well, that was the worst of it. It was like we were leaving, and I was like, man, this is the last time we're going to be here this year. Like, it's just the start of the year, and we're not going to come back for a little bit. And then, like, depending on how all of this shakes out, because, again, we're still really early into the planning phases, we don't know what's going to happen or where we're going to go with that. Like, we might not go until next year or the year after that, just depending on how finances are. And, like, that was kind of upsetting. And then I kind of came to terms with it when I thought about some of the bad stuff, and now I'm over it.
Yeah, I'm like really stressed out because I think that my trip in May is actually going to probably be my last one of the year, because I'm taking, like, I get 2 weeks of vacation, and I'm taking a whole week of it in September to go to Jamaica, but so I can't really complain. But also, I'm like, am I gonna miss food and wine?
Oh, well, that was the funny thing. Like, I didn't say this, but Flower and Garden was like a big highlight of this trip because we didn't do a lot of attractions. We did a lot of like walking around and just like enjoying being there, which was weird because that's not the kind of trip that I'm used to taking. I will say, I know I said earlier in the year that my like New Year's resolution for Disney was to not live through my camera lens, and that felt really good, which is super weird for me.
Nice.
The only time I had it was the night that we went to Ohana, and other than that, it stayed in the room the entire time. But
wow,
yeah, I'm really impressed with myself, and it was very hard to do. But coming home, I mean, I have pictures on my phone. I regret not taking a lot of pictures because like there's not a lot of things that I can like, go back through. But I feel like I enjoyed being in the moment a lot more than I would have just through my camera lens.
Nice.
So should we sign off with this email since we've already gone over an hour and a half?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Sure. So we got an email over the time that we were waiting or we were trying to get all this together, from our listener, Sarah, who has a question about pin trading. She wants to know if we have a favorite kind of pin, like a certain series of character that we aim to collect for while pin trading. For example, she collects pretty much anything Cheshire Cat or Chip and Dale. She sent us a picture of her own collection as well, and I can put that in the show notes if that's okay. We'll message her first and we'll figure that out. And she wants to know if we can share our own collection, such as Facebook, and one said that other people would probably like to see them as well. So do you guys have a pin that you like to collect while you're pin trading?
I don't necessarily collect certain characters. I normally am going for sets right now. So I don't know if y'all have seen these, but they're probably my favorite ones that have come out in the last couple of years, but it's the pop-up book series.
Oh, yeah.
So those are the ones I'm on right now. Looking at your set, though, Sarah, I have one that I didn't even realize was part of a set until I see that you have one as well. And it's the, it looks like you have the Constance one, but it's the Haunted Mansion series where it's like the silver background with the green characters. So now I just realized I guess I'm going to have to work on that set.
I used to do the hidden Mickey pins, but I feel like in the last couple of years they've gotten like kind of lame.
Yeah, I haven't liked a lot of the designs lately. So we'll usually like maybe try to pick one of those sets out each time the new ones come out and try to work on that. But yeah, a lot of them, I don't know. I don't like them as much as the older ones.
The last series I really liked, well, not really like the last series I remember like being kind of against, and that was the reason I stopped collecting them, was the one where they had the like pictures on the cell phones.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, oh, that's kind of gross. I know the one year they did
Text me Merry Christmas.
Oh my
Stop
God.
it.
No.
Brian, you know how I feel about that.
That's how everyone feels about that.
Oh, I know the one year they did the Pascal hidden Mickey ones, and I collected all of those. That was a feat in itself.
Because are you talking about the ones that were just Pascal, like in slightly different poses? Oh, that would drive.
Different colors.
Oh, they were all different colors.
Okay. Because they have one that's out and it's just like slightly different poses. And I was like, man, that would drive me wild because I know I would go up and be like, oh, there's one. That's it. And I'm like, dang, no, I already have that one.
Mm-hmm. I did that with the Orange Bird set where I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't need that one. I have that one already.
The hardest part about that one was I finished that over like 2 trips, I think, because I couldn't find, I think it was the orange one was the one that like I just couldn't get. And with the hidden Mickey ones, they have the completer pins that aren't filled in. So like I got that pretty early on. I knew I was missing one color and I came back and I forgot to bring them with me just because I didn't want to lose them. So I ended up with like two other colors and the orange one because I couldn't figure out which one it was.
Oh my gosh.
I will say though, this last trip we didn't do pin trading, but I feel like pin trading is on the way out. Like
I've felt that way at certain points, like during my Disney fandom, and I think it's just kind of cyclical. Like it always seems to rebound.
Yeah, it's kind of like ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Well, the weird thing to me, like I don't know if maybe I just missed this, but like Pin Traders is like not all pins anymore, which I get it. It's probably dwindled down a lot more from when that store was like all pins, but there's like so much other stuff in that store that like maybe 50% of it was pins. The rest of it
Wait,
was
where
like
are you talking about?
Pin Traders in Disney Springs.
You're talking
It
about
was-
that round thing?
Yep, it was
Oh
mostly
yeah,
pop
they do have
vinyls,
like a
magic
bunch
bands.
of magic bands, yeah.
It was super weird, and I did not like that. That was confusing, and I can't tell if it's not there anymore. But is that pin board there? Because I did not see it.
I'm pretty sure it's there. I don't know for sure though, because I haven't actually traded with it in a long time. So.
Well,
You're
I
talking
like,
about the one where they only open it a few times a day?
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't even think
swear-
about it.
I swear it was gone because we walked around the entire store and I looked. I found like they have a soda machine in there now. They have like
Oh,
there
like a
used-
picture. Like
Yeah.
make your own stickers of your face.
it was like that stuff. Like it was so weird. I feel like that was all missing. But yeah, I don't know. I for a while was trying to do like rare pins, but that got too stressful and yeah. Do you have a set that you collect, Beth, besides Orange Bird?
Yeah, Orange Bird's like the only one that I have like the whole, I guess, hidden Mickey set or whatever. I don't really focus a lot on sets. I just mostly collect if there's anything Princess and the Frog related, I'm gonna get it. And I usually, if there's a special event or like a festival going on, which there almost always is, I'll get one, try to have like the year on it so that I could have like it's more of like a memory thing rather than a collecting thing, I think. But yeah, Princess and the Frog and Orange Bird, I'll buy pretty much any pin that has any of them on it.
And I guess to complete out her question, do you guys have pictures or not pictures? Do you guys have your pins up for display?
Oh, absolutely.
I am the worst Disney fan in the world because I do not. I have
What's
them in a
going
shadow
on
box.
with you? Oh, how's that not on display?
But the shadow box isn't up; it's in storage right now because
okay.
we're trying to buy a house and we're trying to be as prepared as possible to like go
Up and go, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually right in the middle of reorganizing my display, so I'll send a picture or put a picture on the Facebook whenever I get done with that.
Cool. So I guess I don't have anything else to say. I know we've run a lot over here. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about before we tie this week up?
Nope.
I think I'm good.
Cool. I'm good too. And then I'll record the outro later. Actually, I have a file now. I took someone's advice and just saved
Nice.
it.
Save you some time.